Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to August interval training. I'm Rebecca Campbell, Senior Director at Peloton. Thank you for joining today's training, which is all around invoice scanning best practices. The format for today is roughly 20 minutes of a demonstration by my colleague Pradeep, followed by a few minutes of Q&A. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone will be muted during the training, and chat will be disabled. Please put your questions in the Q&A. We will be monitoring that thread and we'll get to your questions after the demonstration. If you have additional questions or we weren't able to get to your questions today, please feel free to reach out to us. Without further ado, let's get into invoice scanning best practices. Over to you, Pradeep.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Hello, everyone. Good day to you. Thanks for joining the Peloton internal interval session here. Today's topic is AP Invoice IDR Solution, Best Practices. I'm Pradeep Venteru. I lead the continuous innovation practice at Peloton Consulting Group, and I'm super excited to share the best practices, how the solution works, and some of the exceptions, errors, and also walk you through live in a demo instance as to how you process some of the examples, like how can you use this tool for adaptive learning, and we'll share how other customers are responding, and also some of the feedback, and also that way you can use this information for your team benefit and any training and so forth. All right, with that, I'm gonna go into the PowerPoint mode. And again, as I outlined, we're going to go over the high-level IDR process flow. For those of you who don't know, it's accounts payable intelligent document recognition software, which is being completely redesigned and rebranded from the legacy optical character recognition software, which is scanning, into the AP solution. And then we're going to go into some of the key configurations and also dive into the actual adaptive learning, which differentiates from the legacy OCR platform. And we're also going to talk about some of the best practices and what are the things that we can do, like prerequisites-wise, formatting, and so forth. And we're going to get into the actual demonstration using a demo instance. And we'll save some time for the questions, anything coming from the group, so that way we can answer all. All right. So again, as I was explaining, right, the AP Intelligent Document Recognition software is completely been redesigned from legacy optical character recognition, which pretty much scans the paper invoices or emailed ones if you have it handy. So as you can see in this architecture diagram, you receive the invoices in paper or mail or your email. So depending on the AP operation setup and all, so you can scan them. And again, for that, we typically recommend 300 dots per inch scanner. And most of the AP departments, they have robust scanners, again, for the better clarity, because the clarity of the image will help in better extraction and throughput of the software. So please keep that in mind. And then let's assume that the invoices came in very good and someone reviewed it, and there is a mailbox that is specifically allocated by Oracle per instance. If you have 2 or 3 environments, so each environment will have its designated email route that is configured in the Manage Intelligence options, which I'm going to show you in a bit. So, the AP team, once they do the sorting and confirm that this is the right invoice to be processed by AP, then they can email that PDF or the format into that email box. And Oracle will process that particular attachment, extract all the information, and it will be in the staging side. And there is a job that is, like you can run on demand or by schedule, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes. Typically, we recommend anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes. So that way, as more invoices come through, the process, the job will pick up, process, and those invoices will be available for further review and processing in the Oracle AP module. So again, that's pretty standard. The biggest difference in the IDR is this interactive viewer, adaptive learning concepts. Again, we're going to get into the detail as to how that elevates from the standard OCR platform to the IDR. And the formats, acceptable formats are like PDF, TIFF, PNG, JPEG, DocX. Just don't use Excel for obvious reasons, because Excel is known for its macros and all that. So I wouldn't recommend anything. Avoid hand paper or maybe handwritten anything, because IDR is built on data extraction concepts. So it's always nice to have a good print or formatted ones. You can add multiple invoice attachments, and you can have single attachments, and you can put the subject line to differentiate from the different vendors and so forth. So again, these are all some of the best practices that we'll go through in detail. A little bit more context, like once the AP job picks up the invoice import options, and then the invoices will come into this tile. As you can see, it's labeled as scanned, and these are the buckets: 0 to 7 days, 8 to 14 days, and 15+ days. So these numbers will change as the invoices come into Oracle AP through the IDR software. And again, like I said, the process is like invoices are sent into the IDR, extracts information from the invoices, and this job can be scheduled or run on demand, and they show up in the scanned info tile on the invoices dashboard. And the AP users, based on the permissions and the grouping, because each company has different ways of processing or delegating those invoices to process, so they can review, correct or confirm, and then run the next steps like validation and approvals and so forth. All right. And then these are some of the initial IDR setup and all. So again, the focus of the meeting is today, like assuming that you're already familiar. But if you need some more information about like how do you configure, how do you set up, and there are a lot of prerequisites and also, again, reach out and we'll be happy to help. For today's session, you want to focus on like configuration wise, it's the master configuration I'm going to show you. But once you save the manage IDR configurations page, it takes about 24 hours for the initial sync from the master data into the database and to the IDR platform. And this is the email that I was talking about. You will receive this email in the manage IDR options configuration page, and it will also show you in active or not. And then we're going to go over some of the best practices. Let me just show you. This is the main IDR configuration page. So I'm going to pause here for a second because this thing, right, is so critical. This is the main configuration page where you will check off these boxes based on the business requirements and how you process and what data you want to capture from the invoice image into the AP module. And in the legacy OCR platform, you didn't have this option of the status. It wasn't visible, and the email was not showing up, and there were a lot of missing pieces. And this latest and greatest IDR platform, it's built on artificial intelligence and machine language concepts. So that's why you have more buttons, and also adaptive learning capabilities have been added to this software. So as you can see, depending on how your tax is set up, your freight lines, matched, unmatched lines, and you can also configure the requester's domain name, so that way you can filter out what's the requester email domain name is. And then you have tax imports, there's like more details. If you want to see all this information, we can share that when you reach out. But these are the configurable checkboxes, self-service, which is very, very important. In the legacy OCR platform, every time we had to make a change in any of these or the master configs, we had to log an SR with Oracle support. And they used to review, and then it would take some time, and it was adding to always delays and back and forth. So that's another good advantage of IDR platform. And as I said, once you save it, it takes about 24 hours for the initial sync, and later on, whatever change you make, it sticks. Again, I want to jump right into this because I want to make sure we have enough time for the demo and all. So let's assume that the invoices came in through the email box, and we see the header information. As you see, it will always open in interactive viewer. So typically, the AP team is used to having at least 2 or 3 screens so that they have AP Oracle invoice screen on one, and the other one is typically added as an extra screen for reviewing the invoice image content. So as you can see on the right side, this is the image that was emailed into the system using the email configured in the Manage IDR box, and the system attempted to extract the information, and it picked up pretty much of everything, right? It got the business unit and all coming from your vendor information. And then you have all the other pieces like address, and then you have date, terms coming in, invoice number is here too, and then the amount. Again, for the demonstration purpose and all, like we have staged this data like this, and it's blank, right? So it will be shown in this red color when there is a blank. And let's say if it picked up 1394, but the .80 is not so clear, so it will be in orange or yellow box. But when it does not get anything, it's not confident, it's usually in the red box. So that means it is waiting on the AP user's attention. So this is another game changer, right? As you can see, all the information, and where the amount is, right? In the OCR, there was no adaptive learning. So now what we can do is we basically select this box, and then you lasso onto this amount wherever, right? Like this is your chance to course correct and educate the software that you're looking for the total amount. This is for this vendor for this format. Here is the right place, and you can point it and double click it, and it will populate into this amount. And then it will match, and you can save it. And that registers in the zoning format. And that will be part of this particular invoice record. And it will learn. And next time when it says it, it knows that, okay, for the advanced network devices, this amount is at the bottom, and this is where I need to pull. And as you can see, it picked up all the lines information as well. So everything is looking good. And also the image itself is right here, team. Let's say if you want to download the invoice image physically onto your machine or network drive, you can save it too. All right, so that's the beauty of this adaptive learning. You can pretty much teach the system about the right field to pick up. And Oracle is consistently adding more and more trainable fields. In the latest 24C, they have added about 8 to 9 attributes into the learning capabilities. So again, Oracle, it's good to see that Oracle is adding many more. Again, I'm going to go into details while I'm demonstrating, but some of the invoices, potential errors while processing API IDR is like, whenever you have check invoices, you have trouble with the low quality invoices, right? Again, like I said, 300 dots per inch. If the source content is not in the best format, whatever IDR sees it, it's going to try to grab extract. So it's always recommended to have the best format possible. And also the PO number should always be in alphanumeric. Some customers, they have transformed into this just the numbers, and the system always confused with the PO number, which is somewhere listed at the top, and the system will not be confident. So usually the recommendation is to prefix it with PO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then exactly, and PO format is pretty static based on your numbering and your design configuration. So it's recommended to have alphanumeric format. And nothing handwritten. Again, always a good idea to check the supplier name, address matches before even getting into this system implementation and all. Again, I've been through part of this multiple API IDR implementation. So one of the first and foremost thing that I recommend is review your supplier vendor master data, confirm that the addresses are up to date, do any cleanup review. So that way, you don't have to deal with any duplicate vendor sites or addresses and all. Because again, we want this system to be successful. So the more data confirm or the up to date will help in our faster AP processing. And then you have 2 reports for tracking and monitoring as well, which I'm going to show in a bit. There are more best practices, team. Again, I'll touch many of these during the demonstration itself, but the key to API IDR solution success is doing that initial round of training testing, right? So grab the top 20 suppliers. When I say top 20, it's by volume, not by the dollar amount. So that way you can get maximum visibility for this software. It knows that, okay, these are my high volume vendors, and you process them in the initial CRP or your unit testing stages so that the system knows that this is the format and these are the fields and this is how the structure of the invoice is. So the system will get used to the format, and also in that initial sample testing, we can teach and train the system using the adaptive learning, and that knowledge base can be migrated from one environment to the other environment, provided the the PO numbers and the PO database matches from instance to instance. So again, there are like some prerequisites and the best practices. This is the most important. So that way your throughput becomes natural and the system is already processed this information a couple of times. And then, like I said, supplier name and address is critical. So make sure they are up to date. And then because it uses that information as an identifier to pick the right business unit, the site. So the more you give as a prep work, the better and the faster way for the AP team to process further. Again, they have examples here, like, if you have like, inaccurate supplier, like a PO box and all that, it uses a street address. So there is a mismatch, right? So it's always nice to label it. And a lot of customers, they do monthly, quarterly vendor master database review. So use that as a best practice, please. Again, decide on your PO format. Alphanumeric is always recommended. So that way, the system doesn't get confused with the other numbers printed on the invoice image. The PO format also, like if it is in a box format, make sure it is aligned in such a way that tabular format, so that your processing will get faster when the invoice is going for matching manually or systematically. All right, so I'm going to actually pause here, and I'm going to actually get into an instance team as I promised. So here I have already logged into an instance who has access to these permissions, the API IDR. I do have one super user, and I do have one AP specialist user. AP specialist user is the one typically process your AP invoices. Again, as I mentioned, this is a demo instance. So we are using a Vision demo instance. So I'm logged in as Edward Mill, who is a AP processor. So again, going back to that earlier architecture diagram of like the overall flow. So the invoices have been picked up and then sorted and then emailed. Once the job, right? This is the job that we run import invoices, and this can be run on demand or on schedule. So you don't have to pick the business unit, but you know, select the ledger, and the source is always invoice image, and then pick the ledger. Again, this is a demo instance. So again, based on your environment setup, and then you run. You don't need to put anything else. So that is submitted. And then basically that pulls all the invoices that have been emailed into the system, and it gets processed, and you will shortly see this number going up because I do have some invoices staged and waiting for it to get picked up. So again, as I mentioned, these are the tiles that you can navigate 8 to 7 like that. So it's a very interactive tool, and you can sort and you can view columns and so forth. So let's say we are here, and you have your refresh button too. So there you go. So it bumped up from 4 to 10. The job that I just kicked it off, it actually pulled some of the wait to be processed information. So now, again, you're seeing this duplicate because I'm using the invoice images for the demonstration purposes. And it's actually a good one to the way you immediately can identify this and duplicate invoice because you have the same vendor, same site, and all same amount. So again, as AP reviews this information, and then you also have an opportunity to have these assignees, depending on your AP user, the assignments, you can actually configure the routing rules, and then you can also use those people identification to process. And you can see the validation status is incomplete. And again, this is a demo instance team. So again, it picked up. So this is a good test for you to demo. So again, because it is a duplicate, so it's natural. Let me see. I just want to show you the invoice image. This demo instance is a little bit slow. All right, so you have this business unit, right? So maybe like once I add this and say 090, they save. There you go. It was just confirming and all. So I don't think there was any problem with the business unit. So image is attached here. The line came through fine. And everything is in balance. All I have to do is like save, right? So now let's say this amount did not come through and all. So how do you, I wanted to show you the adaptive learning. It's just in the Chrome. It's taking a few moments, team. I'm just going to close out everything and then relog in. Then there's a demo part. Let's say, how about this? All right, so it picked up, and let's see, this opens quickly. All right, it's this is a pop. There's a pop-up blocker enabled. That's why. All right, so here it is. The document Web Center viewer is coming up. Just 1 second. I'm gonna switch browsers. Stop sharing for a second. So I enter the password here. EAB. It's edward.mail. All right, I'm logged in. I'm going to share. I'm using Firefox now. Tables, invoices. And just going to pick one of these. So it should actually automatically open up. Oh, see how it opened up? I think Chrome had some issue there. And then you can see this is the interactive viewer where you can confirm and change. So here, then where's the invoice image? So see how it is highlighted in Blow Team. I'm just trying to move so that you have reference point. And then basically, I'm just going to say something like that. And then hit enter, tab out, and save. And now it actually picked up, right? So it knows that, okay, this is the invoice number. Okay, it has the same one. So maybe I'll use one more different. Just trying to make it up. All right, and then you have this 10.5. So let's say this didn't come through. You want this amount to be taken out. So I'm dealing with one screen, but mostly users have two screens. So this is the one, right? So going back. Okay, so I put my cursor in the amount, and I know that it's going to be coming from here. So watch what happens. I just double click it, right? And then I go back and it's populated. So now it basically connected the amount with that particular region and the field. And this is how you are training and educating the system API IDR solution so that it knows exactly where to pick up and process the information. And this is very dynamic. I mean, I have users coming back and telling me after a few months, they're saying like, this is adaptive, which means, let's say you have processed this vendor last month with certain field and they change one of the line amounts or the area or the location, and they retrained it and it picked up and it learned, and going forward in the next month, it started picking up automatically. So that's another game changer technology. Like it's adaptive and it is trainable. Like we feel like, hey, this is not the right one, and also it's always a good way. So now Now that the amount is in balance, it's green, I know. And then you basically save, or save and close, process more, and then that invoice from it will move from scan to different queue once you run the validation job and so forth on next step. Now that's part of your natural AP processing. So again, depending on how your AP is configured and how frequently you run the validation job, these invoices get pushed from the scanning to the next tiles, recent and so forth, and approvals. Okay. And there's one more thing I wanted to demonstrate is, these are all the same invoices. And any of these fields right here, like the date and all, you could do the same thing, team. And then let's say if you want to add a line also, you can do it. And then that way, because some AP users, they're like, oh, we don't add each individual line, we group them and all. So they actually use one of the lines and then just add the total into it with the final amount here, like here. So that way, some AP team, like they don't need to break it out. So they just train this total field, leaving one of the line types, and then it gets saved and it gets added to the database. And that knowledge base is pretty dynamic too. It's learning again. And as I mentioned, you can always use that knowledge base for additional training and migration from one instance to the other. Let's say you have gone through the top 20 vendors, and then you want to actually use the same learning because you spend time in coaching and training, so you can migrate by logging a service request with Oracle, give them dates, and then they move it, let's say from dev to test, where you want to do additional training, UAT sessions and all. You could migrate that knowledge base. All right. And then I was going to show you some of the reports. Going back to one of the instances. Just bear with me, screen. I'm going to just plug the charger 1 second. So now where were we? We're going to just go back, show you the reports. So now AP managers, typically they want to see the dashboards and all, right? So if they go to, so this person has a lot of screens. That's fine. I'll just go back to this. I'm going to save and close. So these are the typically like AP manager, like supervisor, like they can use the scan tile, recent tile, approval, and all that. And on top of it, you have these two reports that you can run. It's called document, and I'll show you the visual. So one is invoices recognition report. In that report, basically you will see how many have been created, matched, and the supplier name, site, and also it will give you the attribute recognition. So let's say the PO number, it's getting tripped, or the currency, when you have a multi-currency format, the PO doesn't have the right laid out and all. So you can actually compare to see like how the system is behaving, and you can adjust the format so that you get better results. And you will see all the details too, like when it came through and the purchase order, the date, and all that. And this is what I personally liked is a lot of times AP says like, hey, I sent in 15 invoices. I don't know where they are. I only see 15 and all. So you can actually see who emailed, what was the subject, and when it was sent, and what was the attachment name, and all that. And you can see this process by IDR, and then you can see the status. So the timestamp when it was picked up and was created, and the job ID, and actually it will show you the status of that invoice too. Like, let's say if you want to run like later on and all too. So this is a pretty good report. It's a standard earlier in the legacy OCR platform. This was a custom report where we had to get the data model, create the custom report, and save it. And also now both of the reports are out of the box standard. You can run both reports through the ESS job. There you go, invoices, document, and all. So again, you can run this on demand or like schedule. So for this recognition tracking, there is actually a form to do. So let's say I want to pull all the invoices that were processed for the past 2 days. You kick it off. It actually exports into an Excel. All right, great. So while the job is running, team, so again, it will come out in this layout. And then, I do have some of additional information, like what are the attributes and all. These are, again, part of the pre-config prerequisite setups. Eventually, if, once you spend good amount of time in that initial configuration, review, and what do you want in terms of the business requirement mapping and all, the AP processing results are better. If you don't train the invoices in the initial round, again, the system will take its own time to process. And also, again, we don't want to lose the business users' confidence. And also, it's very important to get all these prereqs in place, follow that guidelines. Again, Peloton is here to help. We can actually walk you through in BAM sessions and walk you through all this. We can go through the requirements and see if you're already live and if you're not seeing the right results, and also reach out. We are here to help. The idea is to prepare for success, and there are a lot of prerequisites and also the best practices to follow so that your business users' confidence will get enhanced, because at the end of the day, IDR solution is being designed to process more invoices with fewer clicks. So, a lot of customers in the initial first 2 months, they get mixed results. And then as the time progresses in the couple of months and all, the users adapted to how the system works with some training, coaching, and also the user guides and the templates, they were able to fast learn. And there are shortcuts with the keyboards, how to move quickly from one cell to the other. And things got progressed so much. And I have a customer, they process hundreds and thousands of invoices, and they use this a lot. And also for the GL coding and all, depending on the PO, non-PO match, I just want to use that 1 minute to highlight. Oracle has released the latest software built on AI apps, which actually provides an extension after the IDR, let's say for non-PO invoice. Once we configure all that, you can get the intelligently derive your GL account code automatically, which pretty much gap fills for non-PO, because usually the GL code is not printed on the invoice image. So again, thank you so much, team. I know this is a lot, and this is one of the critical software for the overall AP processing and all in your core financials. I hope you found this training and session helpful. If you have any questions, please reach out. Again, thank you for joining, and over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Pradeep. That was fantastic. Lots of good content. We actually do have a few questions for you from the audience. So first one, does IDR learning improve predictability over time?
100%. Yeah. So basically, as I demonstrated, team, like it's adaptable, right? So as user lassos and trains on the right fields and all, it's adaptive, and it basically builds a knowledge base based for that specific vendor, and it uses that information for the next time prediction. So it's continuous learning and improvement as it learns and process more invoices. Great question.
Fantastic. Next question for you. Does IDR adaptive learning include line level recognition?
Yes, it does. So that's one of the latest features have been added. Earlier, it was only to processing the header, and also now the line level attributes have been added as part of the recognition. And also, Oracle is releasing the trainable fields too, like the adaptive learning concept. So again, please feel free to process more and more data. And if you need any assistance with that, we are here to help.
Perfect. And then this is, I think, sort of a follow-up to the previous question. What about non-PO invoices GL distribution coding? Will IDR pull GL coding from the invoice image?
All right. This is exactly that I was talking about. This is the latest feature, AI Apps Intelligent Account Coding Default, is the feature that is pretty much giving that functionality to automatically derive the GL code based on the historical data. And this is actually really, really nice because for non-POs, there's no GL code, right? So the user is forced to go and search in their Excels or somewhere and manually enter and type in. And that is automatically derived based on this AI Apps IACD feature. So if you don't know anything about this, or if you're new to this, please reach out. We have a lot of success stories, and a lot of customers are using this IACD live in production for processing thousands of non-PO invoices where there is no need to manually enter the GL code.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you so much, Pradeep. And thank you everyone for joining today. We appreciate your time and you being here with us. Reach out if you have additional questions or ideas for future trainings that we could provide for you, and keep an eye on your inbox for next month's training. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks, Pradeep.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay, take care.